And I will put enmity between you and the woman, the serpent and the woman, and between your seed and her seed. He shall bruise your head, and you shall bruise his heel. Now, we have the woman in Genesis with the crown of stars above her head and everything. Who is it that it's speaking of? The Jewish people, the nation of Israel. Okay? All right, now that is the woman that's being spoken of here, the godly line that will be saved. And we will speak about that when we get into a couple verses later. We start getting divergence of thought. And this goes to the Nephilim. You've heard of the Nephilim, and some people say that, well, they're listed in Genesis, and some people say that it's angels came down and slept with women and blah, blah, blah. All of that fits into people's nutty ideas about things, okay? That's where the giants came from and the heroes of old and all that. They say it was angels. It's not. Anyway, there is enmity between the woman, and remember now, everything that we've read so far has had a parallel in the book of Revelation. I've read some of them, but I've alluded to several more. All right, I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your seed and her seed. He shall bruise your head, and you shall bruise his heel. Well, who is that speaking of? We know that. Come on. It's Christ. Crushed the head of the serpent pierced his heel. Okay, so this is speaking of Jesus coming through the woman, which is the nation of Israel, the preserved line that God has preserved. Noah was preserved out of all the people of the world, and then that's why these generations are listed throughout the Bible. And remember I mentioned the word Toledat. Do you remember I mentioned that word? I'm sure I did. The word Toledat in the Bible, which it is spelled, and I may have the spelling wrong right now here, but it's Tav... No, not that one. This is Toledat. Lamed dot D-O. I'm sure I mentioned it in this class. But anyway, the word generations, I know I did, because we were speaking of the generations. The word Toledat is generations in the Bible. And in this particular case, the first one in the Bible, the generations of Adam, it has two vavs. But elsewhere in the Bible, there's no vav, or there's one vav. And each one of these, all the way until you get to David, King David, it will be different, but there's never two vavs listed in the word Toledat in the Hebrew until you get to David. And remember that the sixth letter, are you leaving, Lil? Okay, go have a good rest, okay? Enjoy your rest. But this is the sixth letter, and the six in the Bible is the number of, I've said this, come on, the number of man. That's right, okay? So the man is restored when the Davidic dynasty is restored. But throughout there, Ishmael, the generations of Ishmael, I don't know which one, but we'll say it's missing this one. And then the generations of this guy might be missing this one. And sometimes neither vav is mentioned in there. And all of these in the Hebrew text have a meaning, a reason. I did a whole study on it. I don't have it printed off here. But anyway, but that's what's going on here. All right? So, between you and the woman, and between your seed and her seed, he shall bruise your head, and you shall bruise his heel. It's Christ is going to crush the serpent's head. Okay? This is the first outward mention of the gospel in the Bible. All right? And by the way, the vav is also, if you looked at the thing I printed off for you, it symbolizes a tent peg. And Jesus is called the tent peg in the book of Zechariah, I think. Anyway, the tent peg. Okay, so to the woman he said, oh, go ahead, somebody read 16.
He said to the woman, I will intensify your labor pains. You will bear children in anguish. Your desire will be for your husband, yet he will dominate you.
Okay, now some people I have heard say that because of the way this is termed here, it implies that she had children in the Garden of Eden. And, well, how could she know? Don't get too far ahead of yourself here, but they're saying that I will increase your pain in childbirth. And this goes once again back to the whole thing we were talking about. All right, and they will say that, so she must have had children in the Garden of Eden in order to know that her pains in childbirth would be increased. What is the problem with having somebody born in the Garden of Eden? It's not mentioned in the Bible, and it's not correct, but what is...
Pure? Would we condemn so or pure so if it was...
If he was born...
They were born before sin. They would have been born without original sin.
Right, he would have been born without original sin, and we would have another line that could have replaced Adam, and we wouldn't need a redeemer. And that's not the case, okay? Adam fell, there were no children before the fall, and the first child born after the fall was Cain. Okay, so we want to make sure that when you hear people talk about that and they say, well, there were certainly children born, and they also will say that to justify that Cain had a wife and all of these other things. There were no children born before the fall. Well, like I said, though, not everything that is in the Bible, I mean, not everything that occurred is in the Bible. Only the things we need to know. But we can know for certain, just by thinking it through, that there were no children born before the fall, because exactly what you just said. That child would have been born without original sin, and we would not need a Redeemer. We could have gone through their redemptive process, okay? And, or it would have been recorded that this child fell, and etc. So that's not even something that we're going to consider. We need Jesus. Jesus prevailed where Adam failed, okay? We know that. So I will greatly multiply your sorrow and your conception and pain. You shall bring forth children, okay? And we know that it for most women is pretty painful. I don't know personally, but...
They've done it now so you don't have to feel any pain during childbirth.
Oh, well, you know, there you go. I mean...
I don't know, that went through my mind, you know, when Robin had a hunter, she didn't feel anything.
Oh, man.
Rip going, and she feels something coming up, just press a button and you don't feel
I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine.
Is that right or wrong?
Well, I don't think it's wrong. I mean, if we can have medical things to cure people from dying, I mean, people die and then we bring them back to life with clear, you know, and it sounds okay to me, but I don't think it's anti-biblical. But yeah, I wouldn't think it's anti-biblical, but he's making a point here that it's supposed to hurt when you have children. But if we can alleviate pain in some way or another, I mean, it's supposed to hurt when you break an arm, but people go out and do marathons with broken arms and legs. I mean, so anyway, your desires shall be, what's that? Absolutely. Pain is the result of sin. We wouldn't have any of this. And that goes back to what we said a little while ago, is that we wouldn't know what feeling good was if we didn't know what pain was. All right? And that's one of the neat things. I love to think about this particular issue, which has nothing to do with that. But when you get really, really sick and then you get better, you just don't forget, you don't remember how you felt. But when you're really happy, you always remember how happy you were. You never forget happiness, but you really quickly forget sorrow and pain. Isn't that wonderful? God is really good to do that to us. We remember that we had pain, but we can't remember the pain itself. But we never forget the joy.
Well, He didn't design us for that.
Right.
We were created for the Garden of Eden.
For the Garden of Eden. And there you go.
There you go.
There you go. Yep. So here we go. To the woman and he shall rule over you. That doesn't mean that men are supposed to be beating up women and all that, you know. But we are the head of the family just as Christ is the head of the church. That's, you know, and there has to be, without order in a family, without order, then we have chaos, okay? And without Christ as the head, we see the results of it in the world all the time. Without Christ as the head in a nation or in a family or anything else, you have chaos. That's just the result of it. So anyway, verse 17, anybody?
And he said to Adam, because you listened to your wife's voice and ate from the tree about which I commanded you, do not eat from it. The ground is cursed because of you. You will eat from it by means of painful labor all the days of your life. It will produce thorns and thistles for you, and you will eat the plants of the field. You will eat bread by the sweat of your brow until you return to the ground, since you were taken from it, for you are dust, and you will return to dust.
All right, well, there you go. This is as I said, first he says to Adam, Adam blames it on Eve, Eve blames it on the devil, and then he turns around and curses the devil first, then he curses Eve, and then he curses Adam. And Adam gets his curse, and he's got to go out and he's got to toil by the sweat of his face. He's going to earn his bread, and in the tabernacle and in the temple, the priests were told to wear linen garments, not wool garments. And they were to take them off when they left the service. And the Lord says, why? Is so you don't sweat. Okay? Sweat is part of the curse. All of this is part of the curse. And we're not to sweat in the presence of the Lord when we're ministering our duties here. He says it specifically. I think it's the book of Ezekiel it says that. And it says, cursed is the ground. And then in the book of Revelation, everything is restored and the fruit comes up. And while we're here, here's the curse. We're going to go, before we go into Revelation, we're going to stop in Malachi. Malachi, the very last chapter of the Old Testament, and the very last verse of Malachi, and the very last word of Malachi is the word what? Curse. The last word of the Bible, it says, and he will turn the hearts of the fathers to their children, and the hearts of the children to their father, lest I come and strike the earth with a curse. The curse is already there. It's only going to be worse. And then we get to the book of Revelation. And as I said, everything we've read, we've had parallel after parallel after parallel in the past 15 or so verses of Revelation and Genesis. But it says here, where is it? Their name shall be on his forehead. And he said to me, reign forever and ever, healing of the nations. Hang on here. Let's see. Maybe it's in the previous chapter. I know it's right here, and I'm going to find it here in a second. It's in chapter 21, and where it says, God will wipe away every tear. There shall be no more death, no more sorrow, no more crying. There shall be no more pain, for the former things have passed away. All of those things are alluded to in the curse of Adam. Okay? There will be no more pain. There won't be any of the death which happened to Adam. You will die, and he did die. And then he died physically as well. No sorrow, no crying. There should be no more pain. The former things have passed away. And then it also says, let me find it real quickly here. I gotta find the particular verse I'm looking for. Open, no death, cast into the lake of fire. And hang on, I'm looking for a particular verse, and I will find it. I'm sorry for not knowing it right off the top of my head. But, anyway, it's healing at night. Come on, Charlie. He who talked to me, rasped cry face, lamb is his light, shall walk in his shadow, be shut. Abomination and lie. Healing. Oh, I'm so sorry. I know it's, what's that? Let me see, verse 6 of what, 21? Then he said to me, it is done. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. I will, a fountain who comes, he who comes to me. That's not what I'm looking for, but it says there is no more curse. And that's the one, it says it specifically. And I just read it a day ago, which is really bothering me that I can't find it. It's right here in front of me, and it's only 2 chapters long. It's either 21 or 22. But God will wipe away their no sorrow. Now, somebody read verse 4 in your... Oh, you got it?
And the leaves of the trees are for the healing of the nations. No longer will there be any curse.
Oh, there you go. Thank you. I just read...
Verse 3.
Verse 3 of 22. Oh, there it is, right there in front of me. And what does it have? Mine even has a little star next to it, which is saying that it's a prophecy that's fulfilled. There shall be no more curse, but the throne of God and the Lamb shall be in it, and his servants shall see him. So once again, all of the things that he has just been told are going to happen are all reconciled in the book of Revelation. The book of Revelation is a book of hope, and it is also a book of the future. We are not in Revelation right now, so we're not preterists. We don't believe that all of those things are fulfilled. And anyway, but as you can see, you see the parallels that are going on from Genesis to Revelation again and again and again. And where was the curse lifted that is finally consummated in the book of Revelation? Where is the curse lifted? At Calvary. Now, how do we know that? Go to Galatians 3. Remember, I was going to talk to Galatians 3 here a little while ago. Go to Galatians 3 and go to verse 13. I'm sure it's verse 13. Hang on a second here. Galatians.
Yep.
Okay, go ahead and read it.
Christ has redeemed us from the curse of the law, having become a curse for us. For it is written, cursed is everyone who hangs on a tree.
Okay, now do you know where that comes from? Cursed is everyone who hangs on a tree. That comes from the law, and it would be Deuteronomy 27, according to my Bible. We'll see if they got that right. Deuteronomy 27, 26. And you're going to see this again and again in the Old Testament as we get through there, that people are hung on a tree, but they're taken off the tree at night. And 20, it says 27, 26. But let me see here if that's the one. Well, no. 21. Okay, no, that's not it either. There's lots of curses in Deuteronomy 27, and that's not what I'm looking for. It says in the, it might be in Leviticus or Deuteronomy. Anyway, right in the Old Testament, and I will find it, is that anyone, don't leave a person that is hung on a tree overnight.